Today, we have in the United States almost nothing which is really productive. It has all been destroyed, and Obama is out to destroy anything that's left of it.
Yeah, and the purpose of government is completely gone, because the idea is you can't do that. You're not allowed as government to use the nation to develop the nation.
No, and that's
why we need to break. There's all this anti-development policies that have to be exposed for really what they are, shackling any ability of the government to develop the people.
In effect, the re-election of Obama was an act of treason, but an act of treason perpetrated by empty-headed fools who had no regard for what the interests of the people of the United States are. They're just too stupid, too ignorant, and too corrupt. Many people, like Democrats who are decent people in one sense, are absolutely corrupt. They knew that this was a pigsty, and they said the excuse was that the Republicans are bad. The excuse was they were not going to really fight against Obama, but they were not going to be in his way. And this process destroyed the United States. If Obama is not impeached in some way, which is possible right now, I'm not sure exactly where the wind is blowing entirely on this business about the CIA director going out. I don't think that the issue is clear, not to me, certainly so far. But the stir around the issue indicates there's something going on there. And it's going to open up new conditions, which can become ominous or beneficial. The grounds exist for the impeachment of Obama. We have members of the Senate and others who are talking about the impeachment of Obama in their own language. And the justification for his impeachment is there. He might not ever reach the realization of his second term. He might be canceled from office before the second term begins. That is a possibility, and a very serious possibility right now. If it weren't to happen, there's still the danger of thermonuclear war. And Obama and what he represents, with the British Queen behind him, and Tony Blair behind the whole business. Tony Blair is the actual controller of Obama. He operates in and out of Chicago, and he operates in control of Obama through this Chicago connection as his efficient. For example, Tony Blair escorted this creep into the presidency. He was the supervisor of it. And it was the British monarchy that did it. The point was reduce the population of the human race, as the Queen has insisted, from 7 billion people to approximately 1. Now, what does that mean? It's the greatest genocide ever conceived. The Queen uttered it publicly, over and over again. The whole green policy is the British mass murder policy. And anyone who is, for the green policy is, whether wittingly or not, is actually a traitor to the United States.
Yeah, all these things. The whole U.S. government is now running around with their heads, cut off like chickens, screaming about $4 trillion in cuts. Created a whole discussion created by British rating agency sitting down with Obama, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then on the environmental. But people have to. So they have to impeach Obama. They have to do these things, but they have to do it. The only way they're going to do it is to know what they're going to do afterwards, right? The future determines the present here, and what they have to do afterwards is act like a government and not allow these mechanical systems. And if there's something to get from history, it's to understand that history is defined by these individual decisions of the government to move things forward, like these canals, these rails, these scientific principles applied, and the power of the government to do that. It's not this, what makes people stupid is this mechanical economy. It's just happening, it's just moving, this is what this Jackson crime was, and this is what, as a British operation. And people, as you said, people voted for Obama in a state of mind. They similarly voted for Jackson. They similarly voted for Buren along party lines, defending what they'd went along with. Even though a lot of them knew it was crap, they went along with it and they defended it. It's the same reason today. There's no big mystery. It's the people are stupid. The people don't know this history, and they don't know the real purpose of government. They become trapped in this thing.
This problem of the British relationship to the United States and the treason, and it is actually treason, whether it's fully witting or not, it's in effect emotionally as every other way is treason. That our opponents inside the United States are either accomplices or outright traitors to this imperial system. And those of us, you know, my advantage at my age is that I am one of the few survivors of the war generation, World War II generation. And what we experienced as a war generation from the time of Pearl Harbor in particular, and the whole preceding Roosevelt development, was a far different thing than we got out of World War II. At the end, it went the other way under Truman. And Truman did it quickly with British. And so those of us who were turned out of service at the end of the war in Germany, the war in Europe, were in a different situation than those of us who remained in service under Truman. And one of my little remarks, which is the day that Roosevelt died, we had a meeting in a camp in India along GIs, and people asked to meet with me and discuss what this all is going to mean. And I told them what I thought about it. I said, we had a great president. We got a little man as president, and I'm worried about our nation. And that was reality. That we were not the same people from the time of the death of Roosevelt until the end of war that we had been under Roosevelt. The corruption had begun to really sink in. And Truman was the embodiment of a British control. Truman was nothing but a stooge for Wall Street and for the Queen of England, the king of the British monarchy.
Well, the empire never disappeared. It's the failure to understand the evil of this global empire and what length they would go to preserve themselves. And
I think also it's very useful that in this paper that's coming out that you're in the process of writing now, the calamity of the second Obama administration, but there is an alternative. That you go through this idea that it's not just that there are bad people that are there all the time, or that there are people who would like to run an empire all the time, but it actually is the same one, and it's conscious that way. It's the Roman Empire, and then it's the Venetian Empire, and it's the new Roman Empire, and they call it that. And explicitly, we would like to continue. We are the continuation of the Roman Empire. This is one of those, another reminder that, unfortunately, often the empire actually has a longer future view than the people who are fighting for basically a new humanity, just only at the beginning of a process of fighting for what humanity actually is.
And people don't understand imperialism.
That's the big problem now. Yeah.
And they understand something descriptive of imperialism more than one nation being controlled. They don't understand imperialism as a self-defining process.
Well, the problem is that it's not a sense perceptual thing. And so you can take these case studies, though. You can see how it operates, the way that it manifests through the period, for example, of the destruction of the United States, or through what we fought for and against during the American Revolution. Yeah. You see these reflections, and through that you can start to put together, okay, what is this that we're dealing with? What is this that actually exists right now that I'm actually fighting for or against?
And I think that's a crucial point, that missing the long-term view, and what went into forming the Constitution, that was a long view.
Yeah.
They said, we're going to create something which, when we're all dead, it'll be strong enough to resist this empire that exists in the world. And, you know, people like Roosevelt, 12 years. You think the empire could have waited that one out? Yeah, and they did. And they said, well, when he's dead, you know, let's look at our watch and we'll take over, as you experienced. But we need that long-term view, and we need enough people to rediscover these powers of the government and the purpose of government to promote creativity and how this whole system should work. And only with that strong enough intention are we going to be able to, as you say, you know, beat this empire that is has a much longer scope.
The only way you can understand that efficiently is you take what happened in the preceding century prior to the rise of Nicholas Cusa. In the previous century, all hell had broken loose. Complete disintegration. Mm-hmm. So that what had been left over by the greatest poets and similar kinds of people from that earlier century began to blossom, and blossomed around these conciliar meetings. And this produced Nicholas Cusa and other people. And Nicholas was, however, crucially significant over all others. He actually invented the modern civilization. And Kepler was one of his great students. And Leibniz was a product of this process, and so forth and so on. So there was in Europe a development, and in this process, Nicholas Cusa, in the last years of his life, had proposed to cross the oceans to escape from the prison of Europe, which was poisoned by imperialism, chronically, and to move across the oceans to other places and other peoples, and thereupon to found a new system to inspire a change in the world. That was Cusa's intention, and it was an intention which was Christopher Columbus was adopted under the influence of Cusa's people, so explicitly. So he was a missionary based for Cusa, in effect, his policy. What happened was the development of the European intervention against developments in North America in particular, where the major effort was made for colonization, resulted in a center in Massachusetts. The Massachusetts center was crushed by the British. So then what had been Massachusetts was moved into Philadelphia. And the Philadelphia colony became then of the new basis. So what we had is a completely new system, and what it had an effect was that the existence of the United States, beginning in that way, was a force which acted as a check against the evil of European imperialism. And so it was when the United States itself engaged itself in being entangled with European imperialism and imperialisms, and the only one who was any significance in Europe, for individuals, but the most was Bismarck. Bismarck was the greatest had the greatest insight of anyone from Europe into what the United States was. And it was on this basis that Bismarck, and Bismarck alone, as long as he was chancellor, was able to prevent World War I from occurring. So what the British did to a member of the British royal family, was then came into power in Germany, in Prussia, that Bismarck was kicked out of office. And from that point on, the countdown for World War began in 1890. The actual fighting began to come out in 1893 with the British alliance with Japan against China. But that was we are in a continual process of that war in various fluctuations and expressions now. And the British Empire is the key instrument of that war.
Driving towards World War now.
Yeah, again. Exactly. And thermonuclear war.
Yeah.
And they don't care because the British monarchy, what it represents, would rather be extinct than letting somebody destroy their system. They would give up their very existence to destroy anybody who would try to succeed them. And that's the problem is only true patriots know that. And we don't have many true patriots anymore.
Yeah.
We have a few.
So, we don't have to form a new constitution and have an anarchist revolution to get out of this mess. You've laid out a solution, and this we have to build on a certain history that we know that we can go back to, and we have a solution on this website. People should look at your latest couple papers on more of that.
What more significant is people have to understand, and even in our own organization we have problems with this. There are certain things which you can never tolerate. Because if you do, you betray humanity, at least implicitly. And what I have to watch most clearly in our own organization is the idea of becoming practical, to limiting oneself to ventures which you consider practical. Mm-hmm. Even if it means giving up the cause.
It's not very practical.
That's exactly that's exactly this contradiction of the term practical.
Mm-hmm. There's no reason to be practical right now.
No, but to be victorious is the only thing that
right. That would be